my man?
How's it going? Good.
All right. Thanks for coming today.
Oh, absolutely. Thanks for having me.
So we were talking just a little bit ago about your clinics that you've got here.
Yeah.
But I stopped you because I wanted to record this. I was like, stop talking, dude. I want to hear this. So I want to record this. So first, you were saying that you kind of got into chiro or kind of exposed to it when you were wrestling when you were younger.
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah. So I was 10 years old, 5th grade, somewhere around there.
Yeah.
And I hurt my shoulder wrestling. So I went to the chiropractor in town and started seeing him, got adjusted a few times that week. And then my next wrestling tournament that weekend, I didn't have to use my inhaler for my asthma. And it was gone. Like, I never had to use the inhaler again after I started seeing the chiropractor. Not that chiropractic always cures asthma, but for me it did, right? So it was like kind of life-changing at that point. And I did a book report in 5th grade and decided, that's what I wanted to do.
It's pretty sweet when you're that young.
Yeah.
I mean, I knew I got lucky too, like you.
Yeah.
For me, it was with music, but it was like, I knew like 6th, 7th grade. I knew that I wanted to do music one way, shape, or form.
And you're still doing it?
Still doing it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
So, but that's awesome. That young.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you saw the physical benefits that chiropractic could benefit from.
Yeah,
like,
for sure.
I want to do the same thing for other people.
Yeah. So that's And with wrestling and sports, like, I played baseball, I played football and everything. It was just like I felt better when I was getting adjusted and my spine was moving correctly and my posture started to improve and all kinds of stuff. So it was really great. And I just wanted to keep it up for other people and do the same thing.
And were you doing mainly adjustments, getting adjusted, or was it also a lot of physio stuff? Like, what stuff were you doing, do you think, that was helping with that?
Sure. So in the beginning, I did do some physical therapy type stuff with it, really just postural exercises, strengthening my posture, improving my posture. But I got to a certain point, and I got there pretty quickly because I was young. My body responded a lot better then.
Yeah.
I
hear you.
But once I got to that point to where things were pretty good, I just saw them about every 2 weeks. I'd go in and get adjusted. And of course, if I had a wrestling tournament or a football game or something, I'd usually go after those as well.
Nice.
Yeah.
Great. And from the asthma aspect, how common is that for that to help get rid of asthma? And was it like every time you got a little better and then you have to go back to kind of like get better with, get adjusted to help with it, or how'd that work?
Right. Yeah. I would notice times when my back was tight that I would have a little more difficulty breathing. My full blown asthma never came back though. So that was really cool.
Wow. That's cool.
And then when I started practicing, I noticed that, there was kids that would come in, even adults. I've had some adults that we started adjusting and they would report that their asthma symptoms got better and stuff. So it's, there's not a ton of research on the asthma side of it, right? But just motion in your spine and all your joints in general, you're going to be healthier. So
anecdotally, what do you think? What do you think that's because of? Do you think it's like the opening of the chest cavity that allows more breath?
Sure, I think that's part of it. I think also when you adjust the spine, you're affecting the nervous system, right? The spinal cord runs through there, connects to the brain and everything else. So I think that my parasympathetic nervous system was kind of turned on a little bit more, and I had just had an easier time breathing, and I didn't get the spasms in my lungs anymore. So it was that, and I became more health conscious, because my chiropractor would talk to me all the time about like what I'm eating and everything else. I went from drinking like 3 gallons of milk a week to like not drinking milk at all, and I think that played a big role. Dairy's really inflammatory,
right? Especially
Especially for a kid with asthma. Yeah. So that kind of stuff played into it as well, but I hadn't made any of those changes in that first week though, when I first noticed it. So it was pretty cool.
So the chiropractic avenue is kind of what got you into, obviously, your role as a chiropractor.
Sure.
Well, tell me a little bit about your clinics and what's your main philosophy.
Sure.
When you take on clients.
Yeah. So our biggest thing is improving people's health, right? I mean, they come to us because they're in pain, right? And we have our 3 clinics I was telling you about earlier, right? We have one in Dallas, one in McKinney, and then one up in Minnesota with 7 doctors, I think, right now working at the clinics.
All 3, between all 3 of them?
Between all 3 of them. Actually, there's 6. Okay. Yeah. So, and we have some interns from Parker that hopefully will become doctors with us as well. But with our patients, they come in pain, right? Everyone does. And so we assess that pain. But while we're assessing the pain, we're also looking at their lifestyle. What are they eating? How much exercise are they getting? And how much stress do they have, and how are they managing that? So we are constantly talking to our patients about eat well, move well, think well. We want people eating better and moving more, getting more exercise, and also managing their stress, right? So if we can make those changes for people, it really drastically changes their health while we're getting them out of pain and putting them through physical therapy and exercises and things like that, so that they can continue to function. And for all of our patients, our goal is to get them to a state of wellness, right? We don't want to see them every day, but like every 2 weeks or so, we like to adjust.
That's surprising, right?
Yeah.
To hear a doctor say that.
Yeah, right. Well, in the beginning, we have to see them every day. You know what I mean? Because they're in pain and there's a lot going on. Pain usually takes a long time to build up, and then we ignore it for a long time as well. So we've compensated around it. We're using all the wrong muscles to do everything, and it creates more and more issues. So we've got to kind of unwind that. But then once we get that unwound, and usually about 2 months, then we like for our patients to go on a maintenance program to where they get adjusted every couple of weeks, and they continue to do things like take their omega-3 fish oils, their vitamin D, their probiotics, things like that. And then, and managing their stress as well is a big thing for them, for a lot of them. Yeah.
What do you, is there one, it might be generally speaking, but is there one ailment that people come in specifically that you see like 90%, or is there, 90% of the time? I'm sure it's all related to the spine, obviously, but is there one in particular that you'd say, this area of the spine or because of this lifestyle, they're in
Sure.
pain?
Yeah. I think that even since I started practicing about 12 years ago, the rate of neck pain and headaches I've noticed has gone up. Low back pain's always kind of been an issue for people, because we sit so much and different things like that. We don't use our core the way we should, and all that stuff that plays into it. But I think technology has really started to affect people's necks and the screen time and the headaches that come from that. A lot of people, 99% of our patients come in and they've lost the curve to their neck. So we work a lot on redeveloping that curve and putting the spine back to where it should be.
Is it what does that mean exactly as far as the curve goes? Is it
Sure.
jutting forward or?
Yeah, there's a lot of jutting forward. I mean, we spend everything. We're right here all the time, right? We're on our phone, our tablet, we're at the computer, whatever it is. Yeah. So there's a reverse kind of C shape to your neck. And what we're noticing is that a lot of them are straightening out and even going the other direction.
Oh, wow.
And the head's coming forward. Forward head translation puts a ton of pressure on the muscles back here.
It goes all the way down to the...
Exactly. Yeah. So we work with a device that's called a dinner roll. It's just a piece of foam that we lay on and lay the head back, and it allows gravity to reshape the curve of their neck. So
it probably takes a while for that to
It does take a little while.
Like wearing braces.
Right. Yeah, exactly. It is a lot like braces. So consistency is a big thing with it as well, right? Yeah. So the more consistent you are and the better off you're going to be. But we take pre and post x-rays when we're assessing in the beginning, we need to see x-rays to see what's going on. But we also take post x-rays so that we can show the patients like how much their spine's changed and everything. So
how long does that take usually on average?
Typically it's about 2 months. I mean, it's somewhere in there. Yeah. Okay. If you look at the research, there's a study by Maltby et al. That talks about they knew chiropractic worked, right? It was getting rid of back pain, it was getting rid of neck pain, whatever. But they wanted to see what's the recidivism rate and how long would it take, like how many adjustments or how many visits could it take to get to a point to where there isn't a recidivism, right? So what they found is that with neck and upper back pain, it takes about 24 visits on average for the average person to get rid of the pain. The pain's usually gone somewhere 6 to 10 visits, but the restructuring process and keeping that pain away takes about 24 visits.
Kind of like training them also to change their lifestyle habits too, right? That's a big part of it. Yeah.
So, and during those 24 visits, we're really big about talking to our patients about nutrition and, exercise and what they're doing and their stresses that they're handling and how they're handling those things. So
it's funny you mentioned the diet aspect of things, because it's something that I feel like has had a big renaissance or big resurgence in communities in the importance of what we eat. And, I was watching a podcast a couple of days ago about this kid who had a brain tumor, and he essentially had He's from Austin. Logan Sneed is his name, but he basically he had a brain tumor the size of an egg, and one of the nurses or who had seen him after he got the tumor removed, basically saying like, your diet's not going to affect this coming back or not coming back. It's going to come back, and you even though we remove this, this is going to be terminal.
Sure.
And so he started, a ketogenic diet. He went to carnivore diet. He kind of told his story, but the fact that, he was told that no matter what he ate, this wouldn't change the outcome, right, seems, first of all, kind of closed-minded, for one. And that's not to say that, that doesn't mean that keto or carnivore is going to cure cancer, right, for everybody. But the fact that you guys seems that that's part of your philosophy, incorporating food and in diet into that, is that something that is always been there in the chiropractic world? Because it seems like, my brother-in-law who's got a clinic, it's kind of sure, a big part of their philosophy is more of a holistic approach, as if you'd be seeing like a holistic doctor, like a physician, in that same respect. Is that safe to say, like the mentality of chiropractic is like that, or are there some that don't even like say, don't worry about it, just rehab and don't worry about what you eat? Yeah, you have chiropractors all over the board, right? Yeah. There's doctors that only adjust. There is no physical therapy. There is no rehab to it. They just adjust you and you go. They don't talk to you about nutrition or any of that stuff. But I think as, the research in nutrition has evolved greatly in just the last couple decades even. Yeah. So I think chiropractic has it's always been a holistic approach to health. Mm-hmm. So I think as the research evolved, it kind of evolved with chiropractic, right? It's a really easy fit. We study a lot of it in school. Oh, you do? Okay. Yeah. We take a lot of nutrition courses and different things. So it's, and then when we get out, we continue to study our continuing education and stuff that we have to do for each year. I always try to make mine kind of nutrition based so that I'm just continuing to expand my knowledge, because you get questions all the time, right? Like I get questions about the carnivore diet, about keto, about paleo, or, whichever the new diet is. Right. So it's like, I got to know the information. Yeah. So, yeah. Right. Yeah. And, you mentioned earlier about there being, when you mentioned about your philosophy, there being kind of a move, mm-hmm, eat well, eat healthy. What do you think are the main staples for living as long as you possibly can in the world, in America, or in today's society? Yeah, I think nutrition is a big part of it, right? Yeah. What we put into our bodies absolutely matters. Yeah. So doing that, but also understanding the food that we're eating, while it can be nutritious, may not have everything in it, right? We don't do supplements very much in the clinic. We sell, I think, 3 supplements, and they're essential nutrients, right? So basically our body needs them, but our body doesn't make them. Okay. So like omega-3 fats, mm-hmm, we're not getting enough anymore in our diets. Part of it's how our food is processed and grown and all that stuff. But part of it is we don't eat well. Right. Yeah. So we supplement all of our patients with the essential nutrients of the omega-3, which also has vitamin A and D in it. Mm-hmm. And we use Innate Choice as the name of the product, but so it's a blend of all. Yeah. So it's a cod liver oil and a fish oil kind of put together. Okay, so cool. Cod liver oil has naturally occurring vitamin A and vitamin D. It's one of the best sources, and vitamin A and D work synergistically. Mm-hmm. So they share a receptor on the cells. Mm-hmm. So if you take vitamin D alone, you use a certain portion of it, right? Your cells uptake that and some of it's wasted. If you take vitamin A with it in the appropriate amount, that number goes up 300%. Oh, wow. That is available to the cells. So, I mean, it's a huge difference. So, but all the fat soluble A, D, E, and K, they all kind of work together in that way. So they benefit each other. Yeah. I've heard about K with D. K with D is another one, sure. But I'm not really sure what is that. And like, because they work, I know they make pills where you can take K and D together. Right. K and D. They're similar to A and D. They're going to work synergistically, increasing absorption, and that will then increase function in the cells and do you know what vitamin K does do? What its purpose is? Vitamin K, a lot of it is vitamin K2 at least is calcium. Calcium usage in the body, right? So that your calcium doesn't build up in your arteries, but it goes to your bones type thing. Like it's a transport mechanism for it. So okay, cool. Yeah, so that does a lot of it. So we do that. We do the omega-3 and the vitamin A and D in that. And then everyone goes on a probiotic too, because our gut microbiome has been destroyed by a lot of the stuff that we eat and drink, and the oils that are in, even
like I was talking about, I recently went to the carnivore diet. My mom suffers with some with some arthritis issues and stuff, and I'd been hearing stuff and reading some research on it, and I was like, you know what, I'm going to try it and see how I feel. And what I realized is I had to keep taking my probiotics, right? Because the way our food is. But I realized that I thought I was being healthy all the time. You know, like I eat salads for like everything. Yeah. But a lot of the oils that are hidden inside some of these dressings and different things, you go out to dinner and you don't even realize what you're putting into your body and how inflammatory it is and how much it's killing the bacteria in our gut. So we put all of our patients on a probiotic. I take it myself. But the carnivore diet's been mind blowing to me. Yeah. Like I did not expect to feel this good.
Me neither.
It was crazy. Yeah. Like I've had 3 knee surgeries. I've had a shoulder surgery. Like my joints bother me from time to time. Yeah. It's gone. Yeah. Like I feel amazing. I was really shocked. So I'm trying to get my parents involved in it now.
When you, tell me kind of your story behind deciding to do that and what you, how long ago it was and your experience.
Sure. Yeah, I had heard about it. Probably the first place I heard about it was probably on Rogan or something. I think Jordan Peterson was doing it. And like that was kind of the first time I heard about it. His daughter was also right. Yeah. So, and obviously just being in the clinics, we get questions all the time on these different diets and stuff. So I just wanted to figure it out for myself and for my parents. You know, like I said, my mom suffers with arthritis stuff, and she's a hairstylist, so she's using her hands all the time and it bothers her. And my dad's got some high blood pressure issues and stuff going on. So I was like, I'm going to try it, see how it affects me. And I was going to give it 2 weeks, just like see if I could do it. Yeah. I've been doing it for a month now. And I don't plan on going back. Like,
have you been pretty strict about it?
I've been pretty strict. Yeah. The occasional, I think I've had like a couple of chips with some salsa, like if we go out to a Mexican restaurant or something, but like other than that, I've been pretty strict on it. Meat, eggs, a little bit of fruit. Yeah. So yeah, it's been crazy.
That's great. Yeah. So I'm kind of in the same thing. I started earlier. It's been since the beginning, 1st of July is when I started. Okay. So it's been 2 months, all July, all of August, and I'm going to try to go for a 3rd month. Okay. But it hasn't been completely, it was super strict for the first month, like just beef. Mm-hmm. That's it. Like not even eggs or anything like that. Right. Just to eliminate everything. It's not, and I started to feel really good. And the main reason I started to go off is because I was just, part of it was, I told you earlier, I had started to drink coffee. Yeah. I was drinking too much coffee and I didn't realize how much coffee I was drinking. And I thought I was just getting anxiety, and anxiety is something that I've dealt with when I was younger, and it's kind of coming back based on like workload and life and stuff like that. And so I was like, I didn't even think about the coffee, you know? So it was like, I thought, okay, maybe my body's changing. Maybe I need to try. So I started trying that. And I was like, right away eliminated the coffee because I just wanted to go straight with it. Right. And I was like, oh, well, the coffee could be a huge factor. And I don't know why, first of all, that didn't pop into my head first. So I started doing that. I started to feel better with it. The only other thing I started taking, I was taking supplements, fish oil. The only other thing I started taking along with it that I think has helped a lot was creatine. Mm-hmm. Started supplementing creatine. But that was, and then incorporating some fruits after about 30 days. After 30 days, I started reincorporating fruit. And then my son had his birthday party on Saturday. I had a slice of pizza, a bit of cake. So for me, it's going to be like the 90-10 where like 90% of the time I'm doing it. And then, if there's a birthday or something, or, I'm not going to beat myself over because I'm not. But one thing I've noticed is joint. Yeah. Like anything, playing the piano, I'd get sometimes tenderness in my hands if I was playing for too long, shoulder pain if I'm not training perfectly right with the right form, a lot of that's kind of gone away. Mental clarity has gone up, feeling super focused, feeling good. So a lot of benefits, and I'm just riding the wave.
Yeah. No, it's wild. Like I said, I didn't expect it to be this great. Yeah. But I really feel a lot better. I lost 11 pounds in the first 2 weeks. I couldn't believe it. It was just inflammation. I just had this level of inflammation in my body. So I feel way healthier doing it. Yeah. So we'll see how long it goes. I see myself going more towards the 90-10 thing.
Exactly.
Because I don't want to beat myself up if I have a piece of cake.
Exactly. Yeah. And so, and that's the thing that I've gotten into some carnivore groups on social media, on Facebook, there's some groups and stuff just to kind of see how they're doing it. And a lot of these diets can be so dogmatic, right? Can be so they're like cults or religions. Yeah. And hopefully what I think people realize by all these new, keto, carnivore, or Atkins, whatever diet that comes in, is that it's just a means to make healthier choices, I guess.
That's it.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think, carnivore being the ultimate elimination diet, right?
Yeah.
And so there's a lot of people that think that it is not how we're meant to eat. And especially when you listen to, the FDA showing you the food pyramid,
sure.
And you look at something like that and it's just completely opposite of what we should eat. What do you say to that? How do you respond to that?
Well, I mean, if you take the food pyramid or the standard American diet, whatever you want to call it, and just look at our overall health.
Yeah.
I mean, our health as a country is terrible, right? We're ranked last in almost every health category in the developed nations in the world, right? Yeah. So if you look at that, it's partly because of how we're eating, right? Yeah. That's a big part of it. I think it's a giant part of it. We're more sedentary too. I think that plays into it for sure.
Yeah.
But, like you said, with the carnivore diet, it's an elimination diet. And I thought I was eating healthy, but when I eliminated all that other stuff, I felt way better. And it just kind of made me realize,
Right. If you're feeling better, there's a reason for it.
Yeah, there's a reason you're feeling better. My blood pressure's down. Just crazy things that I didn't expect to happen. I had heard that it happened, but I was like, I already eat pretty clean though. I don't know that this is going to have that big of an effect on me, but it did. So what we're eating and how it's grown and how it's raised matters a lot. So if you look at the chemicals that we use that are outlawed in most countries, right, to spray our foods to keep insects off and, fertilizers and different things, our soil's totally depleted.
Right.
An apple now is not what an apple was 100 years ago. You know what I mean? Like there's just not the same nutrient density to it. So
yeah. And how do you account for that? First of all, eating meat, like where does it matter if you're getting grass-fed beef versus not? Because I've obviously heard that it does matter.
Sure.
And I'm curious to know what your thoughts are.
Yeah, no, I definitely think it matters. There's a really good book called The Sacred Cow that goes to deep dive into grass-fed versus like conventionally raised beef and stuff. Yeah. If you look at just the omega-3 to omega-6 ratio in the cow itself and what you're eating and the meat that you're actually eating, the numbers are drastic. It's like, I want to say it's like 6-to-1
in
conventional versus like a 1-to-1 in a grass-fed cow. Yeah,
that's huge. Yeah, so omega-6 being in the inflammatory
correct
fat. So you kind of want a balanced ratio of like the good omegas to the inflammatory ones.
Yeah, you want to get it in your body to 1-to-1.
1-to-1
is the ratio you're shooting for. The average American's at 20-to-1 right now. 6s to 3s. So
that's crazy.
Yeah.
So, for example, I've been getting most of my beef recently from Costco.
Okay.
And also from Sam's. And Sam's has chuck beef, but it's not grass fed. I like the taste of it better than like the frozen patties at Costco. They have are grass fed. Grass fed ones, right? Yeah. Those ones. But the taste of the chuck is like just to me so much better.
Yeah.
So I've always thought about that aspect, the inflammatory aspect of like that chuck that I buy. Versus like that grass-fed one. I'm like, well, which is better? A piece of actual cut of meat from a cow versus something that's been ground into a patty, but yet that's grass-fed.
Yeah, there is a certain level of processing to it.
Yeah.
That's kind of unavoidable. I try to buy from local farms as much as possible. Being out in Rockwall, it's a little easier. They're out there.
Yeah.
But I think it makes a big difference. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the research agrees that grass-fed is definitely healthier for you from a nutrient standpoint, from the fat standpoint, all of it.
So for somebody, because for me personally, the factor is cost with that, right?
Sure.
As for a lot of people is. My sister's part of a co-op, and she spends a lot of money on beef, but she doesn't consume it quite like I do because she's not carnivore. But when you're looking at the price that she was giving me, their prices was like $11 a pound for ground beef, which is high when you can get at a store for half the price, right?
Yeah, easily.
So for somebody who's, what is the outweighs of somebody eating a standard American diet or someone going carnivore, but not necessarily eating the grass-fed beef?
Sure. I would say even if you can't, I haven't been 100% on the grass-fed side of things, right? With the beef and stuff. You go to a restaurant and, you're not going to get grass-fed beef at most places, right? But I'm still eating it. I think that anything we can do, even, if you go vegetarian, if you go vegan, whatever you're going to do, I think it's a vast improvement from the standard American diet.
Right.
Just the ultra-processed foods that we're consuming all the time is really destroying our health. So.
And is there any... So like in my case, if I were just to keep eating conventionally, raised beef with that, that's more inflammatory. Aside from fish oils, what would be some other supplements that you could take to help? Is there a way to offset that the inflammatory markers of conventionally fed beef? Yeah,
sure. I think you can overcome it, right? The fish oils are a great start. Probiotics are going to lower your inflammation as well. Your gut's going to respond. Vitamin D helps with all your body functions. So, that's important to have in there. I take a multi as well, a multivitamin and a multi-mineral, just to make sure that I'm getting everything. But I think just outside of that, when you look carnivore, they incorporate fruits and things like that. So you have antioxidant buildup when you start eating more high quality fruits. So that's going to lower your inflammation some. I think the oils that they use in carnivore diet, whether it's tallow or whether it's olive oil or avocado oil, cooking with those and using those, I think that helps a lot, balancing out your fats, which will bring your inflammation down. So I think there's definitely ways. Avocados are another great way, just some of the things that you can incorporate with a carnivore diet or with any diet really to help lower inflammation.
Yeah, I haven't gone back into the veggies, so I've been doing the fruit. What fruits? What fruits would you recommend? I've obviously been eating some strawberries and a little bit of berries, but I like stuff like peaches or like plums. Or what are the more Is it just berries that you would recommend the most? That's what most people...
Yeah, berries are going to be your best bang for your buck. You know what I mean? They have high levels of antioxidants, and they stay low on the glycemic index, so they're not spiking your blood sugars all around and everything like a peach could, or something like that. But again, if your biggest concern is should I have blackberries or a peach, your diet's going to be pretty good. Like you're not doing too bad. You know what I mean? So I wish I could get everyone to think that way.
Right.
So,
you mentioned some supplements there. What are like the top 5, if there are 5, but top 5 supplements that you would say are the most important to take?
Yeah, I think the omega-3s are number 1.
Omega-3 is number 1.
Yeah, I think those are huge just because of how bad our ratios are and what it does for inflammation in your body, and brain and heart. There's really not a system in your body that the omega-3s don't touch. So that's a big one.
How much, because there's a certain dosage on the bottle. Can you go much above what this dosage suggests, or does it matter?
Yeah, you can to try to build things up, but what's really key is longevity with it, right? Like you want to be consistent with it daily. And in about 90 days, you can make a big difference in your triglycerides and your cholesterol and all the fats and inflammation in your body. So that's a big one. Vitamin D is a big one. We're severely deficient in vitamin D. We spend all day inside. Even when we're outside, we're in clothes. We don't get a ton of sunlight. So we saw that during COVID. Vitamin D was a huge issue, and those people surviving or not surviving. So it's a big thing for our immune system, and we just can't get enough of it. So taking that is a big one for me. The probiotics, like I talked about, we don't have. Our guts are severely depleted compared to what they used to be. And there's trillions of bacterial cells in our gut that help this, just one cell layer thick gut lining to stay tight. They have gap junctions in there. Basically, it's spaces between the cells. And when we're eating crappy food and it breaks that stuff down and we have those gap junctions opening, that's how we get leaky gut syndrome, which is basically just overall body inflammation, right? And it's leading to a lot of autoimmune disorders and different things. And I think that's one of the reasons the carnivore diet's so successful with autoimmune disorders. I think it tightens up and cleans up the gut quite a bit. So the probiotics in there, I take that one. And like I said, I do a multivitamin and a multi-mineral as well. And I take creatine on the side.
I would say it's one thing that I can't stress, like how awesome creatine has been since I started taking it.
It's wild.
It's insane. Not just from a performance at the gym standpoint, but just from mental. And the reason I started doing this with the carnivore was, again, because I was having to deal with that anxiety, and I was kind of had loss of some mental focus, and I was just wanting to, brain fog. And so that's why I started the creatine, mainly for the mental benefits of it. And it's insane what it can do, especially as you age, to help, continue help brain function and keep it strong.
I've heard multiple nutritionists recently saying everyone should take creatine. And I've read a couple of studies on, brain function and how creatine supports that. And it's just wild. I mean, like creatine does so much more for you than the performance at the gym, right? I think it became big. I feel like when I was in high school.
Yeah, it was Mark McGuire.
Yeah, exactly.
Because he was like hitting all these homers. Like, how are you doing it? Yeah. It's creatine. It's creatine.
So that's, but then we were just taking it to be a little stronger, get bigger in the off season or whatever it was. When, I know I did. I had some coaches telling me, you can't take that stuff. It's going to ruin your kidneys. And then the philosophy came out to cycle off of it because of kidney function and different things. But from what I'm seeing now, I think it's a positive supplement for pretty much everybody. Yeah. It's hard to say everybody, but
anybody who might be sensitive to it, with, kidney issues or something like that. But
cramping is probably the biggest thing I hear, but that's usually people just not drinking enough water when they're taking it. So
for me, my favorite supplements, fish oil being one of them, just personally, the one that I think has also helped me a ton is magnesium. But specifically, because I was doing keto years ago, before I even started Carnivore, and then I took a break from that during COVID and did the dirty bulk. Just started eating. But while I was doing that, I wanted to stay hydrated, and so I was like, okay, well, I need potassium, I need magnesium, I need salt. So I started supplementing magnesium, and I came across one magnesium called L-threonate. Which is the only one. It was developed at MIT. It was the only one. It's the only one that crosses the blood-brain barrier. And so everybody that I, researched who had taken it, again, anecdotal, but had all noticed a huge improvement in their brain function, brain fog disappearing, just more focused, more relaxed, more just kind of even keel. And that's something I still take to this day, especially at night too, to help kind of calm down and then have the day, at the end of the day, wind down. But magnesium is probably like my favorite, one of my favorite supplements that I always tell everybody. Like I turn my sister onto it. I'm just trying to turn anybody I can onto it.
Yeah, sure. That's great. I love it. It's magnesium's a big part of my multi-mineral. It's in the mineral itself. So
And so I need to look into multi-minerals and the multivitamin. Is there a brand from either that you would recommend?
So everything that I use Innate Choice. It's a brand out of Canada. It was started by Dr. James Chestnut. He's a chiropractor. And he only makes omegas, D, probiotic, and then the multi and the mineral and the vitamin. Yeah.
Cool. Is it on Amazon, or you order from the website?
I order it from the website as a provider. Our patients get it from us. I send it to family and stuff, but I don't know if you can find it on Amazon or not. I bet you can. I mean,
I'm going to look into it as well.
Everything's out there, right?
Yeah.
And it makes a difference. The purity of a fish oil makes a big, big difference, because you can take an omega-3 fish oil that has been, it's a concentrate. Most of them are concentrates. I've studied thousands of fish oils, and I think I've found two that I would take, the Innate Choice one, and then Nordic Naturals makes a good fish oil as well. But that one doesn't have vitamin A and D in it, so I take the Innate Choice one because it does.
I'll have to look into that, because I'm just getting like what the Nature Made or whatever the brand is.
Yeah, so that is a concentrate, so I'm familiar with that one. And what they do is they break down, basically they break a carbon bond and they put it back together or whatever, but what it causes is that fish oil to actually become inflammatory. And if you have people complain about fish burps or the fishy taste or the smell or whatever, if you can smell it or taste it, that means it's gone rancid. And it's inflammatory in your body. So I drink my fish oil. Actually, it's not even in
it's a little cup, a little
liquid. Okay. Yeah. We sell them in capsule form as well, right? Innate Choice makes them and sells them. But it's just that liquid inside the capsule. So I just drink the liquid. It's easier for me. Man. My kids do it as well.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. What's the point in taking it if it's going to do the opposite of what it's supposed to?
Sure, absolutely. Yeah.
I first went on the Carnivore for the mental benefits of it, but also around the time that I did, I had gotten Bloodwork, just from having felt a little drained and worn out, and nearing 40. I thought, okay, I wanted to get some blood work done. And so this is kind of like an interim test right now for me until I come back to do my blood work. So I'm going to show you some of my work or my numbers. Sure. So the main thing was hormonal side. So my testosterone came back as my total testosterone came back at 552, which in the past had been closer naturally to around 750.
Sure.
Just me normally walking around. And then my sex hormone binding globulin, which I'm not really sure what that is exactly, but it's coming back in the higher range, and I don't know if that's a range that's like abnormally high or not. It's a little bit outside of it.
Yeah, it just looks like it's barely outside of it, right?
And the one that concerned me the most was the free tests and the bioavailable, because basically if I've got this testosterone in my body, but I'm not using it like I should be.
Right.
So this being quite low, 44.7 for free testosterone
is low.
Is low,
especially for your age, just being 40. Yeah.
So, do you know what factors could be contributing? I mean, it could just be age, right?
Sure, that's
could be
part
contributed to the fact that I'm not using this, because usually you think low testosterone, you think low total testosterone for a lot of guys, right?
Yeah.
But it could be relatively low for me, maybe. I don't know. Mm-hmm. But what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think that the free testosterone is the big number you want to pay attention to, right? And I've just kind of started studying this stuff. Mm-hmm. Like we talked about, my business partner, he's looking into doing testosterone therapy and stuff. So I started studying it some, and of course my dad's asked me, and we get patients that ask about it all the time. And it's a different world than it used to be. I used to think of testosterone, I just thought steroids or something like that, or people are just using it for performance enhancing or something. But the technology with the bioidentical products that they have out there now, they make a big difference for people, and I've started to come around on it. I was against it when I was younger. Maybe it's because I'm getting older and I know it's coming, right? But I was always worried that if I started replacing, or someone started replacing testosterone in their body, that their body would stop producing it, right? And that's not necessarily the case. That I've come to find out. Okay. Yeah. So, and I think if we have the ability to age a little more gracefully, like, why not?
Right. Quality of life.
If I can feel better longer, why not? So, but the testosterone being like that, with the free testosterone being low, there's a number of things that go into it, right? There's no one definitive answer. Yeah. But one thing that I've found interesting lately is the balance between estrogen in your body and free testosterone. And keeping that balance is very, very important. And a lot of times when people start taking testosterone, some of that gets converted to estrogen. You'll see guys' estrogen levels rise.
Right.
Or if they're supplementing with like Tongkat Ali or, any of the testosterone type supplements, their estradiol can come up quite a bit.
Right.
And that really throws things off. So they're feeling that tired, sluggish feeling, but yet they have enough free testosterone. It's just balancing those things back out.
Right.
So that could be one thing. Aging is definitely a part of it, right? It's the process.
Right.
It's what happens to us. So that's part of it. And your activity levels and what you're eating, those are going to play into it.
Yeah.
Especially if you've had a crappy diet long term. It'll definitely play into it. It can kill off. There's a lot of the insecticides, the pesticides, things that we were talking about a little bit ago that will destroy your testosterone as well. Atrazine in the water supply, is a really bad thing. They did an atrazine test on frogs, and they actually turned male frogs into females.
Wow, that's crazy.
After taking them. I mean, it's crazy. Now, not all of them turned to females, but all of them lost sexual activity. Like, all of them digressed in all their hormone numbers, and some of them became females throughout the process.
Wow, that's crazy.
Which is crazy.
Yeah.
And it's everywhere. Atrazine is everywhere. So,
yeah, I mean, trying to, just speaking personally, trying to figure out, okay, that's why, part of the reason I did the carnivore as well, going back, get blood work to see if these numbers change.
Sure.
Because trying to figure out, okay, what is within my control to change to help improve these numbers. If I'm sleeping well,
sure,
if I'm eating well, which I think I'm doing, and all these things, all my ducks, I'm exercising, I'm lifting regularly, everything's in order. At that point, is there any other avenues to kind of look down before I just take the plunge and say, okay, it's time to start, doing some TRT or HRT,
Yeah. I think that there's certain supplements, but they're not going to do for you what TRT does, right? It just won't. But I have seen where like the Tongat Ali, there's a couple of them. I'm drawing a blank on the rest of the supplements right now, but they've changed the numbers some, but it's still, I haven't noticed it to be enough for people.
Yeah. And for me, I wouldn't worry about taking a supplement to help increase that number.
Yeah.
It's more about like eliminating bad things. And if my body is not creating it on its own, then might as well just,
Yeah. And that's kind of the point I've gotten to as well as I age and start experiencing it myself, that I can't just outwork this thing anymore.
Yeah. We are all going to die. That's the correct.
We're headed that direction for sure.
Do you know the difference between what free testosterone is and bioavailable by any chance?
I don't know the difference between the two.
I'm hoping that we'll that this diet change, and even if it doesn't, even if it was just me just aging, right?
Sure.
And, I'm still gonna keep this lifestyle because again, I feel better than I was before, especially mentally. How's your sleep been doing since you've been doing?
It's way better.
It's better,
yeah. And I think part of that is the achy joints and things as well. It's not easy to get to sleep when you're uncomfortable and changing positions all the time. But I've noticed a big difference in my sleep for sure.
Did you notice like that adaptation period that you were sleeping? Did you have to adapt to it? And a lot of people say that their sleep quality is diminished for a while, and that people who consume carbs, there've been some studies where people who consume carbs before bed have better quality of sleep. But my argument was that they didn't take into consideration the adaptation time that it takes to get your body used to burning ketones
and depleting all the carbs that you've had in your system and everything else.
Right.
Yeah, I didn't notice that myself. Yeah. My results were unexpectedly immediate.
That's great.
Yeah, so I had a really easy transition.
Were you eating pretty high carbs before you switched?
Not a ton. I probably did 80% like vegetable based and about 20% meats. I love meat. So that's part of the reason I wanted to try the carnivore diet too. I thought it'd be easy.
And that's mostly fibrous vegetables anyways, right? So what would you think? What did you think your net carb intake was a day on average, do you think?
It was low.
Okay.
Yeah.
Which is probably why you adapted well to it.
I think so. Yeah. I skipped a lot of the symptoms too. Like they talk about, diarrhea being a bad symptom from starting the meat diet.
I didn't skip that one, man. That one hit me.
I've heard some horror stories from people.
The first week was pretty hardcore.
Yeah, that's what I've heard.
But you told Duggar to stay on, to take something along with it to help with that. I forget what it was.
I was suggesting that he add fruit in right away.
Oh, that's what he told me. Yeah,
and maybe a little bit of cheese if it's an issue,
some fiber to help
something.
Yeah. When you're talking about diet and what you've seen with your patients and at your clinics, how many of those patients are overweight or close to obese, and how much does that play a role in their joints hurting, or specifically neck pain, back pain, that kind of stuff? Like how much of that does weight play as far as you seeing with your patients?
Yeah, I think weight's a big deal. I mean, we're carrying around extra weight. It's hard on us, right? And it's hard on our joints. The back pain starts to come from when the back is not moving correctly, right? So we have 80% are overweight, pushing that obese line.
That's huge.
I mean, it's a big number, right? But they're not moving enough, right? But they're moving incorrectly a lot of times when they do it. So we can help them get out of pain, but if we don't really teach them to change their lifestyle, then we really haven't had the impact that we should. So we're constantly helping them with their nutrition and different things, those that want the information, which a lot of them don't.
I was going to say, I was going to say a lot of people, especially today with culture and not taking accountability for the choices that we make. 100%. I feel like if you almost have to tiptoe around telling somebody, hey, have you tried losing weight? Or, hey, you're kind of fat, in the nicest way possible, of course. Yeah. But I feel like the whole, the body positivity movement has been just terrible for that aspect of it, because it kind of exacerbates a problem that is there and it's been there.
Yeah.
So how do you tiptoe around that?
So me personally, I kind of go straight at it, with a lot of my patients, but it's a sincere conversation with them. Like I want them to be healthier. And one of the ways we do it is we have what we call a 90-day lifestyle plan, that when we get our patients out of pain and they're moving towards that wellness kind of lifestyle, we it's again done by Dr. Chestnut up in Canada, the guy who did the supplements.
Okay, cool.
He created our spinal health assessment, our health risk lifestyle assessment, and also the 90-day lifestyle plan. So we put them through this like functional test. Basically, it's a questionnaire. It's like 80 some questions, I think 76, something like that. And this is at the end of their care. And it goes through their lifestyle. What are they eating? How are they exercising? How much stress do they have? How's it all playing out in their life? And then it takes like their BMI and their blood pressure. We do blood work with it. We run a lipid panel and a vitamin D panel to see their levels of triglycerides and cholesterol and things of that nature. And then they go through a physical test where they run a mile or walk it. They do as many push-ups as they can, as many squats, just body weight squats as they can, and hold a plank for as long as they can. And so the software he created gives you a health score basically out of that. So it's like 0 to 100, right? And where you fall on that. And based off of your tests and all that stuff, the program creates a 90-day lifestyle, which is really just a drip email. So it sends you an email every day, and that email has recipes for every single meal or snack that you eat, right? Like cleaning up your diet. It has exercise programs based off of a fitness level, right? So that you can do every day. A lot of it's like high intensity interval stuff. Some of it's just walking, like there's days like that. There's some weights included as well. Body weight stuff is a lot of it, but it's just trying to get people to think more consciously about what they're doing. Then there's a stress management section to it too, just giving you like some gratitude type things to do to help lower your stress levels throughout the day.
That's great.
And I always tell my patients, like, I'm going to send you the email every day, right? I don't need you to make every single meal on there and stick to it by the book. And I don't want you to beat yourself up if you have a glass of wine or a piece of pizza, right? Like enjoy it while you're doing it and then get back to it.
Right.
But if you just read the email for me, that's all I'm asking. Just read it each day. You're going to make more conscious decisions about your health. You're just going to be better informed. Right. So it's, I love it when our patients get on it. That's one I did for my mom a few years back. And, it did really, really well for her. She got really healthy during those 90 days.
That's awesome.
It was really cool.
That's really great, man. Yeah. I was always curious about the cardio elements of things you were talking about, being able to do, run a mile, for example.
Sure.
As somebody who likes to lift weights, I don't like cardio.
Me neither.
So there's a lot of, Dr. Pita Tia talks about, VO2 stress and being able to increase your VO2 capacity or whatever. Right. And that's, how you can, now there's different ways to test that, right? I have no problem deadlifting. I have no problem gripping onto a bar for more than 2 minutes as part of those tests that they run.
Sure.
But from a cardio standpoint, like how much do you think cardio plays a role in longevity for people who are already healthy,
sure,
but who aren't doing it, like, someone like me?
Yeah. No, and myself included.
Yeah.
Cardio definitely plays a role, right? Your cardiovascular system, the elasticity of your arteries. I mean, all that stuff's going to be improved by exercise in general. The cardio's there for sure, but I think the weightlifting's more important. I think you get a lot of the cardio benefits from weightlifting,
right,
especially going heavy. Mm-hmm. I encourage people to lift heavy, just properly, of course, to prevent injury. But the cardio, for me, I walk a lot. Right. I try to get my cardio in walking the dog or something like that, or I'll jump on an assault bike at the gym. Like, I don't mind the biking as much as
those Airdynes.
Yeah.
Those things are,
dude, they're brutal.
Yeah,
I cut so much weight on those things through high school and college. It was nuts. God. So I like that. But I don't like running. Like, it doesn't feel good to me. I've never gotten the runner's high or anything like that, but I still have to do some form of cardio, so I do a lot of that different stuff.
Okay. The closest thing I've come to it is the stair stepper, which I like doing.
Yeah, I like the stair stepper too.
I just need to be more consistent with it. My uncle sent me a study a couple weeks ago, because he and I lift weights a lot, and when we see each other, he's great. For a guy in his 60s now, he can do pull-ups like a beast. He's really impressive for his age, especially for any age, but especially for his age. He was sharing some studies with me about the benefits of cardio for 20 minutes a day. It's not walking, but actual cardio itself. And again, there was a correlation in the study that correlated people who do cardio on that level versus mortality for those who don't. But those studies are kind of, in my opinion, skewed to begin with, because just like lifestyle plays, people who are more prone to run are more prone to eat healthy, or more prone to do many other things, who aren't prone to be smokers. For the same reason that nurse study that they did saying how bad meat was for you, you know, well, what else are they doing? Are they smoking? Are they, you know, are they obese?
What's the demographic? For sure.
Exactly. Yeah. So, you know, I didn't know if, you know, how important cardio in that aspect was. And I was doing research trying to find more studies like it. And I haven't been able to find that much, but I'm always curious, like, would spending those 20 minutes, you know, be that beneficial for me? Because if it would be, I would definitely do it, you know?
Yeah. And I think it is beneficial. I think, you know, if we could get everyone doing cardio for 20 minutes a day, it'd be mind blowing to what it would do to the overall health.
Yeah.
And I read a study one time talking about if we could just get everyone to walk 20 minutes, 30 minutes a day. I think it was 30 minutes. Just walk alone. Like cancer rates would go down like 85%.
Wow.
Like it's insane numbers. Diabetes, heart disease, like all of it drops drastically if we can just get people moving a little bit more.
Yeah. It goes to the question, speaking of cancer, like how much of this rise in cancer has been a factor of, well, one, people living longer, you know, part of it, but also, the way diet and lifestyle has changed over the last 50 years, and how the fact that half the country's obese, which is crazy.
It's nuts.
You know, how much of a role that plays in it's hard. We don't know obviously what the exact numbers are, but you can correlate that. Hey, unhealthier people who are more obese are probably more prone for cancer. But
100%. Yeah. And I think it's the biggest factor, what we've been eating and the lifestyles that we live that have led to the uprise in cancer, right? So it's a really big deal. But the cancer rates would come down if we use less processed foods, if we didn't treat our soil the way we treat it. I mean, I truly believe that.
Yeah. So diet playing one role. You mentioned mindset earlier.
Yeah.
As part of the coaching that you guys do when you send them. One, how do you think, how much of a role that plays? Obviously, a big role, but how much of a role, and what can be done to help mindset wise to improve longevity? What can we do?
There's a lot of stuff we can do, right? I always talk to my patients about having, you know, they have a workout routine or whatever, but they don't have like a mental fitness routine.
Yeah.
You know, what are you doing for yourself to talk yourself down, to help with anxiety, to help with depression, to help with just the everyday stresses that life brings, right?
Yeah.
So I try to do it with my kids as well, but we try to, you know, at the end of the day, just 3 things we were thankful for. Like
we just started doing this a month ago.
Yeah, like just a little bit of gratitude.
Yeah.
Like the studies show, like it drastically changes the way your brain functions if you're just have a little more positive outlook by doing some gratitude and stuff. And
that's awesome.
And I always tell my patients, you know, everyone has heard that like stress is the biggest killer in the country and it's causing all these diseases and everything, but no one really believes that. Like they don't, you know, they hear it and they believe it
because it's hard to quantify.
It's very hard to quantify, right? But I think it's just as important as what you're eating and how much you're exercising. And so that's why I include it with all of our treatment for all of our patients.
So being thankful, doing the thankfulness routine, we say what we're thankful for and what has challenged us today.
Sure.
But that's the same idea. What are some other things that you think can help mitigate that as well? If there's any other.
Yeah. Another one I do with my kids is I ask them, what's one nice thing you did for someone today? Like held a door for someone, grabbed someone a fork, you know, whatever it is. It doesn't have to be these huge life-changing things.
Right.
It's just these little ticks of positivity that really change your brain chemistry. So I also ask them, what's one nice thing someone did for you? So that they see that it's in the world, you know, other people are being nice. It's okay. Like not everything is doom and gloom like we get into, you know, especially
social media.
Yeah. Social media is a big component. The news, you know, all the little blips that just kind of happen throughout the day, the little sound bites of how bad things are. Things really aren't that bad. You know, we can look and find positive and stuff too, and really change things. So I try to get patients to either keep a gratitude journal that we can go through, or, you know, reading, listening to podcasts, things like that. What you put into your head, just try to keep it as positive as possible. So,
yeah. And, sleep correlated with that obviously being a big factor because, lack of sleep obviously can breed stress. I'd say probably the most important thing and the one I'm the guiltiest of as far as not being consistent with it is sleep.
Yeah.
Like I told you earlier, I had to basically lock my own phone and give the password to my wife so that she after 11 and I need to do this again because I've been good about doing it myself rather than bestowing that responsibility on her.
Right.
But it's crazy. Once you start it working, like for me, I've never had an issue working out. I've never had issues motivating myself to work out or to eat healthy. Whereas a lot of people, that's like so hard to do.
Sure.
But motivating myself to go to bed at the same time every night it's always been the hardest thing for me.
Yeah.
So do you do anything when it comes to sleep as far as your wind down routine or anything to help you with getting good sleep?
Yeah, I try to, right? Well, first thing I do is I wake up at 4:30 every morning, so I'm exhausted.
Jeez, it's like Richard, my buddy, we were just talking this last one. He wakes up like the Rock.
Yeah, right.
Why so early, man?
Because no one else is up. It gives me part of my mental fitness plan that I have for myself is in the mornings I get up, I sit by myself for a little while. I try to meditate a little bit or pray, just kind of quiet my mind some. And then I'll journal. If I'm reading something at the time, I'll listen to a podcast, and I work out in the morning. And so by 7 o'clock, when it's time for everyone to get up for school, I'm done with everything and I can focus on, kids, family, what I got to get done for the day, all that stuff. But if I don't take that first interval, Duggar and I always talk about the 3 intervals of the day, right? And that first one is all about you. Mm-hmm. And it's just taking that time to reflect and who was I yesterday and who can I be today type thing, and constantly trying to improve myself and who I am just as a person, as a dad, as a friend, so I have to get up at 4:30 to do that because it's got to be uninterrupted, and then I get to the gym by 5, work out, usually sit in the sauna, and then I'm back by 6 or so, 6:15. And then I start getting the kids up and off to the oldest one to volleyball and the youngest one off to school. And so it's, that morning routine, that first interval is a big one for me.
That's great. It's something, again, I need to take advice. You heard that kind of advice and incorporate it into my life.
Yeah.
So how early do you need? What time do you go to sleep?
I usually lay down around 9:30. Mm-hmm. I'm asleep by 10 most of the time.
Do you have any type of routine as far as the wind down time, or do you?
Yeah, I do. Usually around 7:30 or 8, I'll go put my phone on the charger, and just leave it for the night. I don't go check it or anything else. No emails after that.
You don't find that hard to, you don't find that hard?
It was hard. Yeah. It was really hard in the beginning, and it's not 100%, right? Like if something's going on and I got to have it, like, there's times where my grandma's sick right now. Like I like to know the updates, and I know my mom's working, so she's going to text late or whatever it may be. Right. So it's not 100%, but I try to get rid of that as quick as possible. One of the biggest ones is falling asleep with the TV on. Just watching a show or something like that. My wife loves to watch something while she's going to sleep, and that's probably the most difficult. I've gotten her to kind of back off some, but it's difficult, and that light affects you. So
sure,
blackout curtains, things like that, to try to keep the room as dark and as cool as possible, because the temperature is a big deal when you're sleeping.
Yeah.
In order to get to sleep, you got to bring your core temperature down like 1 to 3 degrees, I think it is, and so. Keeping it nice and cool in the bedroom is a big thing for me too.
Yeah. I've noticed, I used to watch TV all the time going to bed. Like even in college, I'd fall asleep with the TV on,
sure.
But to me, there's still a difference between having a device this close to my face.
I agree.
Versus the TV. I feel like they're like, if I'm stimulated on my phone, that's going to keep me up much longer than watching a TV, which a lot of times I fall asleep while doing.
Yeah.
So I think, for me and for probably most people, the first step is to put the phone away. You know, I think that's like, even if you're watching TV, it's like the first step. Like you said, it's like, conventionally fed beef or eating a standard Western American diet.
Sure.
One's better than the other regardless kind of thing.
Absolutely.
So, that's good, man. It's about just making those steps to get there.
Yeah. Yeah. The phone's, it's detrimental to our sleep for sure. It's hard to turn your brain off.
Yeah.
It's hard to get to sleep when you're that stimulated all the time.
So what do you think you've been doing Carnivore, and first, what what made you try that versus all of the slew of other diets that were out there?
A couple of things. One, I had heard a lot of good results about it. I was getting a lot of patient questions about carnivore, and I thought it would be the easiest to stick with, to maintain, right? Like it really is a simple diet. I mean, it's very easy to do pretty much anywhere you go too. So I just thought that I could commit to it and be able to hold on to it. So, and I really wanted to see what it did to me. So.
And that's important right there, the committing to it, right? What you know you can stick to. If you know yourself well enough that, hey, I can do this, no problem, then it doesn't feel like a quote diet anymore,
exactly.
Right? It doesn't feel
it's a lifestyle change.
It's a lifestyle change. Yeah. What's your favorite thing to eat? As far as beef goes, like what's your favorite like go-to that you're eating, probably you find yourself eating most of the time?
Ribeyes.
Ribeyes?
Yeah.
So I love ribeyes. Stuff gets stuck in my teeth though, because it drives me crazy.
Oh yeah.
I got a Blackstone, the Blackstone flat grill. And I got this burger masher, like this 10 or like 5 pound smash burgers. And I'm obsessed with making smash burgers, man.
Yeah,
I can get them so crispy.
Too. Yeah,
and
they're
I
delicious.
push them down. I hold it down for about 8 seconds. And I do the same thing on the other side. And when that's with the good cut of fatty beef ground up, I could eat that every single day.
Yeah. No, that's good.
Yeah.
I do a lot of ground beef too.
Yeah.
Like, cause it's just easy to take on the go.
Yeah.
Right? Like, yeah.
I have them I roll them out into like, cause when they're
balls.
little balls, cause you smash them, I have them rolled up into 4 ounce balls. So I know right away, okay, I'm eating a pound of beef. And people would be like, you're eating a pound of beef? I'm like, well, I'm eating twice a day. 2 pounds of beef's not that much, you know?
Right. Yeah. It's not for the day. Yeah. Hence the weight loss that I didn't expect.
Yeah. How much are you finding, like how much meat weight would you say you're eating?
I'd say it's somewhere around that 2 pound mark. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So, and you said you had some, you didn't have any autoimmune stuff that helped you with that. No. But how has it helped has it helped your asthma by chance?
I really haven't. It's helped my allergies. I'll say that. Yeah. I used to constantly have a sniffle and like itchy eyes. Yeah. And I have really dry skin. So I get bad dandruff like a lot of times. And it's helped all that.
Yeah.
And I had a spot on my chest that I was told by the dermatologist, it was like a yeast infection of some sort on my skin. And that's gone as well.
Which makes sense because I guess yeast needs sugar to feed.
Sure.
Right.
Yeah.
I had the same thing. Since I was like 18, I had something called seborrheic dermatitis. It may look like psoriasis to some, but it's not. But it's basically like this red kind of patchy skin flakes that come when there's more oil deposits on the skin. And I would get it always like in the same spot, like right here, sometimes along the hairline, sometimes around the ears or whatever. And it'd be this kind of this red flaky, it would hurt if you didn't put cortisone or wash it with like Selsun Blue, that kind of stuff. And then I started the carnivore when I was strict and I didn't incorporate any kind of fruits or anything for that first month. It completely went away.
That's wild.
And as soon as I incorporated some fruits, it started to come back. And so now it's coming back a little bit because there's sugar in it. Sure. It's a yeast supposedly feeds off of it. But as soon as I incorporated fruit, it started to come back a little bit back in. So it's not that big of a deal. It's manageable, but it's like if you wanted to get rid of it, I could just by cutting the sugar out. It goes to show just like how little sugar you need. If I'm eating, 30 grams of sugar and it would come back. It's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
That's very cool. Are there any guys out there that you follow? Because I was following, I don't know if you follow Paul Saladino. And he's this big surfer guy now. He like lives on the beach and basically he's a big proponent of fruit as part of it, whereas others who are like, no, you can't. It's carnivore. You can't eat fruit.
Right. Yeah.
And I don't really care one way or another. But what are your thoughts on, because he's a proponent of carbs and he eats like 200 grams, but he surfs like 3 hours a day.
Yeah,
so that's a factor. But what are your thoughts as far as carbs go, on the carnivore and the benefits of it?
Yeah. Like I said, I incorporated them right away from the start for myself. Right. And I did that based off of my activity level and I didn't know what to expect if I went completely off of it. Right.
Right.
So I think that carbs are fine as long as you have the activity level to deal with the carbs. Right. But if you're just sitting around all day and eating fruit and only fruit, you're still going to gain some weight. Yeah. Like that's just the way it is. Right. Like if we're not using that stuff that we put into our body, then it's detrimental. So, and I don't think that, for some people, fruit might not work with the diet and some may enjoy it more. Same thing with like cheese and stuff, right? Like I don't do well with dairy products in general. So I I haven't had very much cheese while on the diet. So
yeah, you got to have to know yourself, right?
Yeah, exactly. And everybody's different. There is no one size fits all to health, right? There's general ideas like eating better and moving more and managing your stress and things, but everyone's going to have it a little bit different. And
right.
Each person's a different puzzle. So
yeah, and it goes to show like not be so dogmatic about whatever you're eating, because my brother-in-law, for example, is vegan. He's been vegan for years now. He seems to be in great health. Mm-hmm. He's, he's lean. If you're doing it right, then you are more likely to eat better on a vegan diet than you are on the standard American diet, right? Yeah. So I think for a lot of people, it's just that restriction in the diet that causes you to eat healthier. And so it's like, two ways to get to the same spot. It's like, you can have, vegans, hating on carnivores and carnivores hating on vegans all day. But at the end of the day, it's like the same place. You're getting the same health, the benefits of eating less and eating more whole foods than you would in any other diet.
And what are you eating for too, right? Like, are you eating just to be generally healthy? Are you looking longevity? Are you looking to change blood scores? I mean, there's different ways to go about it, right? So I think from a longevity standpoint, like you're going to need more protein, like to keep things moving in the right direction at some point, right?
Well, and that's the counter argument for a lot of people on the protein side, and so we can talk about that, because a lot of people on the other side of the aisle says, oh well, protein creates cellular growth or promotes mTOR, which is a cellular growth, which it creates cancer, because cancer is cell growth, right? So it's like, and there's longevity experts like David Sinclair, right, from Harvard, who argue for, their ideas is, how do you balance cellular growth with cellular, breakdown, and so what are your thoughts on that, and incorporating protein into that?
Yeah, sure. I think we generalize when we get in those spots, and we're looking for the one evil, right? Like protein's the evil for causing cancer or whatever, and a lot of times we're ignoring our immune system. Like, we're not building our immune system through things like vitamin D, through probiotics, things like that, right? Just building up our blood levels so that our immune system's functioning, because, I mean, cancer is a good example. We all have cancer cells in our body, our immune system is trained and is constantly taking care of those things. And vitamin D, I know I talk about it a lot, but it's a big one when you look at fighting breast cancer, prostate cancer. I mean, all the cancers, really, vitamin D is essential, and it's essential to your immune system, and that's why. So I think that we're also, when we get into the diet debate, we always leave exercise out. When we just talk about the diet, like just the diet's causing it, or we leave stress out, or whatever it might be, or sleep, like you were talking about. Right. Our health is so multifaceted, right? There's so many things that go into it that we can't just pick one, you know what I mean? And that's kind of one of the limitations to research, is like, you have to focus on like just a certain thing that you're researching, right? When there's so many, just the demographic, variables, like we were talking, there's so many variables to it. So health is the same way. There's never been a magic button or a magic pill or magic anything. It's all encompassing. So when I look at cancer like that, I hate to say, well, vegans are going to have less cancer, or, unless it's been researched and proven, which it hasn't. Yeah. So I think that if I'm taking in protein and I'm exercising and doing the right things and managing my stress, then I think that, I don't worry about cancer. Right. Really. So.
Yeah, it's, why do you think though that people in general, and I'm throwing the media in there as well, why is it that meat is always considered to be the bad cancer causing thing, and you should eat more oats and fruits and vegetables, specifically, or vegetables and oats and barley, like, the stuff that they say is healthier for you? Where does that come from?
Yeah, I don't know. I would guess money somewhere, right? Like that.
Well, I'm sure. Yeah,
I guess. Yeah.
I'm sure the American Beef Association, or whatever the hell's not happy with that.
Sure. Yeah. And it changes popular opinion. Right. And it really does when that kind of stuff happens, right? Like, milk was the only way you could get calcium. Right? When we were little kids, Got Milk was everywhere. And they were all just great campaigns to promote milk, which is really inflammatory to a lot of people. Some people do just fine with it, but for some people it's not the right way to go. So I don't know really where it comes from, though, that meat just got this terribly bad name all of a sudden.
Yeah. And
it's
from an evolutionary standpoint, I mean, we've been eating meat longer than we've been eating any type of plant that's been growing out of ground, which again is another argument against why beef would be bad for you. It's just, it doesn't make sense to me. Same thing with cholesterol, the demonization of cholesterol. I think people don't understand that. Not to say, I mean, we make cholesterol ourselves in our body. So it's not, if you're creating enough arterial damage through whatever crap you might be putting into your body eating, no amount of extra cholesterol that you're eating from the beef that you're ingesting it's going to make it that much worse. I'd say, like, if you are, from my understanding, cholesterol is just there to heal the inflammation in the arteries in the first place. It's not the cause of the inflammation, right?
No, it's not.
So, but that's never really addressed, right? It's always like, oh, you need to just get your cholesterol numbers fixed, kind of a thing.
Yeah, exactly. And that goes to our medical model in general, right? If we can show a number and then show a pill that lowers that number, then we've got a customer for life.
There's the money you're talking about.
You know what I mean? So that's a big deal. But cholesterol is a big one that they've demonized, right? But without it, we'd be dead. People don't realize that if we had no cholesterol, right? None of that repair would take place. Now, we don't want too much of it repairing all the time and building up in the arteries like that and causing sclerosis and everything else. But it's your cholesterol is naturally going to go up as you age. It just does. It's part of, you need to heal more. You're not as young. So your cholesterol rises there. But studies have continually shown that, like, dietary cholesterol intake does not really change your blood levels or raise your cholesterol. In fact, one of the things that people on the meat diet, carnivore diet, talk about is how their blood scores have improved. Blood pressure, cholesterol, triglycerides, all
when they're ingesting probably 5 times as much as they would otherwise.
Yeah. So I think that there's I think that the whole medical model of symptom fix is partly to blame for that too, because it scares people, so they jump on a drug or whatever before they go down the steps of changing their lifestyle, right? And I'm not saying it's unnecessary for everybody. Some people need the assistance of different drugs throughout their life, but I think a lot of it could be curbed if we just took a deeper dive into our health.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So again, it comes back to money, right? For a lot of times.
It really does. Yeah. It's sad, but it does. Yeah.
And speaking of that, I pretty much ask every doctor or any physician that comes on here the same question is, what are your thoughts on the state of insurance in America and dealing with insurance companies?
Sure.
Because, you have to deal with them probably on a daily basis.
Yeah.
And is there a fix for how I'm going to say un-American, and the reason I say that is because it goes against the exact free market that we're supposed to be going. When prices are negotiated within a market, it's not a free market. It's not driven by any type of competition or anything like that. So what are your thoughts on it, and is it fixable?
I don't know if it's fixable, but I think that the insurance companies in general have way too much control over our healthcare. Like, we'll pay for this, but we won't pay for that. It's like it's not left up to the doctor anymore. The doctor's just making suggestions, and most patients are like, well, we'll have patients say, my insurance doesn't cover it, so I'll just live with the back pain. It's like, well, that doesn't make much sense. You want to get rid. Well, my insurance doesn't cover it. And that happens from time to time on different testing, on different medications, on, physical therapy or chiropractic or whatever it may be. So I think that the insurance companies have a lot of control in our healthcare. And I think if it was somehow fixed, like you're talking about, I think we'd see a change in health in the country. I really do.
Do you guys have to negotiate on the daily with the insurance companies for the services?
Not really negotiate. We have, we bill whatever codes we perform in the office, and they typically have allowables that they pay. They pay $32 for a 98711 or whatever it is, right? So, so we don't negotiate with them so much, but it is a constant battle of following up with them. You know what I mean? Or they'll deny something based off of whatever reason they give. Right. And going back on those denials all the time to try to figure out what happened. Because if the patient has health insurance and they're going to cover any portion of their care, I want them to benefit from that.
Sure.
Right? So So we do it, but there's a lot of chiropractors who don't take insurance at all. They're cash practices and that's it.
And sometimes that may also be better in the long run.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, if in a magical world, let's just say let's just start with the chiropractic world. If none of it was covered by insurance and it was all just, out of pocket, it would probably drive the market in the long run, right? Whether it's innovation. I keep bringing this back as an example, but LASIK surgery is not covered under insurance. It's an elective surgery. And in the last 10 years, not only has the price gone down, but the effectiveness and the ease of the surgery is just skyrocketed due to the competition from it.
Sure.
What drives competition drives innovation. We know that. Sure. So it's like if there was more competition, and so that's my only problem with insurance companies is that it doesn't drive competition as it should.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it eliminates it.
Right.
More than anything, it's just you just stay with the status quo and don't go above and beyond for your patients because we're not going to pay for it.
Right.
Right.
Exactly.
So, and it's exhausting dealing with insurances for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you? We were talking about hormones earlier. Is it something you ever plan on incorporating into the clinics? Is incorporating any type of hormone replacement therapy, or because I know some chiropractic clinics like sometimes have a physician on. Sometimes it's kind of part of their model, or the Ozempic shots have been a big thing. Right. Is that something that you've looked at doing or thought about?
I have, yeah, and that's why I've started looking into it a lot here recently to have a better understanding of it. And that's part of Duggar's journey in it too, right? Like if he starts doing it, it's gonna be kind of a testing basis too, right? Like the same way I'm doing the carnivore diet just so I can answer more questions and help more people. Right. I like to see how it affects me. But we've talked about adding hormone therapy into the clinic, but we want to stay away from being like the Ozempic shots or becoming like a boutique for weight loss or something like that. I'd rather people learn how to live a healthier lifestyle and make those choices, right?
Yeah. The Ozempic shots are kind of an interesting way in that, or an interesting topic in that because it's a quick fix, right?
Sure.
It's like the staple, getting the stomach staple or whatever. It's one of those things that's it's very easy to fall back into your old lifestyle habits. Most do. Yeah.
It's and it's that's most of our healthcare. It's our society, right? Is that quick fix. That's what we're looking for. And sure, you're losing weight, but how are you losing that weight? Like, what's it? Are you actually losing fat? The studies say no. You're losing more muscle and bone mass.
I've heard about that. Yeah. Well, a lot of that is because they're just under eating so much that they're just losing muscle.
Nutrient deficient.
They're just not eating enough food and they're not eating enough protein.
Right.
And so they're just losing all this muscle. Yeah. Because, I can imagine if you're in a severe caloric deficit because you're not hungry, you go into starvation mode, you're going to lose more muscle probably at a higher rate than the fat just because muscle is so much more dense than fat anyways. Right. Which is not a good long-term solution.
No, it's creating a bunch of people that are skinny fat and they're weaker, right? Their bones they're not moving as much.
Right.
Their health is deteriorating while they're losing weight, right? Like some people need some help losing weight, but I always like to start with the I guess least invasive way that I can. Right? Like if I can just make better choices, why don't we start there and see how we're doing and kind of go from there. And the recidivism rate with weight loss is like almost 90%, I think, for weight loss clinics, like people who actually lose weight on a program and then it goes back. It's like 85 or 90%. It's really high.
They should put that on the front of their door when
right. Yeah. It might deter business.
You'll get,
So that's one of the reasons that I don't want to have weight loss as a part of it. Right. I want people to lose weight, but I want them to be educated and understand how and how to do it properly.
Right.
So,
and the benefit of the carnivore or the ketogenic diet is that you're just not hungry to eat, but you're still eating food.
Right.
And
exactly.
Yeah. And even then it's hard. And a lot of people who doesn't like to eat steak, right? Who doesn't like to eat meat. So that's what makes it easier. Trying to, like the old school eating rice cakes way to lose weight. That was,
trust me, I've done it all
we've all
kinds
done that
of ways.
Back in the day, right? And we didn't know. I mean, I didn't know much about this when I was younger either. So
that's,
you
can lose weight and be very unhealthy. I mean, I tell my wife all the time, I can put you on a ramen noodle diet and lose you weight, like, but it's not going to be the best thing for you, right? Like, so it's, and I've done it correctly and I've done it incorrectly throughout my time wrestling and cutting weight and everything. And it makes a big difference when you do it correctly. So, yeah.
So you were wrestling competitively, and was your diet back then pretty bad, or how was your diet?
It was, let's see, relatively good.
Yeah.
I guess. I mean, you're in college, right? So you're eating
cheap food,
a college kid's diet, so, but at that age I could outwork it,
Yeah.
Can't do that anymore.
Catches up to you, right?
Yeah. It's very fast.
Yeah. Are you, one thing that I'm going to come back to Paul Saladino, the carnivore and fruit doctor, talks about the phytotoxins that are in plants. And I think this is a big kind of gray nebulous area right now, because I don't know how much we know about that. A lot of people think that, people just automatically think that all veggies are good for you and that there's no toxins. And I think everybody's body will react different to different types of toxins. But when, 90% of all plants out there are inedible to humans, right? There is something to say that plants have a innate defense mechanism in them to help deter people from eating them, because that's their defense mechanism. How much of a role do you think phytochemicals play in people's, now in America, it's probably not that big of a role. Most people just need to eat less, right?
Yeah.
But let's just say somebody who has your average. Do you think your average person is negatively affected by these phytochemical toxins in vegetables?
If you would have asked me 2 months ago, I would have said no.
Yeah.
But then when I stopped eating them and I felt this much better, I'm like, there's something.
That's something there for me as well.
It's got to be there. I don't know. To answer the question, I don't think I can answer the question, right, with like statistics or anything. It's new, like you said, right? Yeah. We just haven't studied that part of it as much, but it makes sense to me. Like that's when I first heard Jordan Peterson talking about how him and his daughter were doing so much better, I looked up Saladino and just started reading his stuff. And I was like, man, this makes a lot of sense. It's just kind of a common sense thing. It was a light switch. And I was like, yeah, that makes perfect sense. Plants can't run away. Like, how have they survived all this time? Like, what's going on? Yeah. And the seeds, and all the stuff that he talks about, I just found it really interesting. But even when I started reading all of it, I was like, it makes sense, but how do I get enough vitamins and nutrients without plants? I just don't see how it's possible. And I kept eating them. And then I just read more and more, and I was like, I'm going to give it a shot.
Yeah.
But it makes sense to me. And the way I feel, there's something there for sure. And I think you can also look at how the food's raised too, the vegetables that we're eating and stuff, pesticides, and Roundup and, all the other glyphosates and everything that's on it. So it's, I think there's a lot to it. There's something though, for sure.
Yeah. I mean, I think that, fruit, for example, is meant to be eaten. It wants to be eaten, right? It's like it's meant to be eaten, and it's seeds or nut or whatever cast aside so it can grow into another tree or whatever. So it makes sense from just an evolutionary standpoint that a vegetable would have these defense chemicals. But it's funny how I had the exact same kind of mindset, is that you might think you feel good. Right?
Yeah, I did.
I feel good. Yeah. And then you start to do something like the carnivore diet and you just feel that much better. And you're like, there's your new baseline. You know, it's crazy and how much it shifts. And then you're like, you go back and you have a day where you eat a bunch of carbs or you eat vegetables or whatever it is. And then you start feeling like crap. You're like, oh, that's why I'm doing this. It's like a constant reminder. Yeah. And I think for me, it's like been kind of, since I started it, I've had after my 30 days of strict carnivore, I've had these, cheat days or days where I've kind of gone off the path, and I don't feel that good afterwards, and I'm like, okay, I'm not doing this again. And so the more I do it, the more I'm just staying stricter and stricter, not because of any other reason, that I feel better when I'm doing it.
Right.
Yeah. And I'm like, well, I can get pretty much any nutrient. Like that's the other thing, the idea that you can't get all your nutrients from fruits and meat. You can get everything that you need from there. There's fiber in fruits, so that's it. And there it is. Yeah. So that's it. You've got your all your vegetable, all your minerals, all your vitamins, or most of your vitamins, and you've got your fiber. So it's covered.
No, I agree. And I haven't had the cheat day yet, to where I do feel like crap. And I didn't expect to make it this far without a cheat day. Like I thought I'd have a salad or something.
It's easy,
at
right?
some point. It's so easy.
Yeah.
I was blown away. But I know that I'll feel like crap when I have that cheat day.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just no surprise. For that.
Yeah. I wanted to talk, I wrote this down. Have you heard of or taken lion's mane before?
The mushroom?
The mushroom supplement. Or the supplement. Yeah.
Yeah. I've used, what's it called? Mud water. And it has some lion's mane in it.
Is it like that coffee?
It's like a coffee replacement. Personally, I thought it tasted awful.
Right.
But I would put it in my coffee and I could mix it up and I could bear through it. But I felt better. Like I had more mental clarity. That's the one thing I noticed for sure. I didn't notice, a lot of people say joint inflammation and stuff goes down with it and things like that. I didn't notice that so much, but the mental clarity is definitely different on the days that I take it.
Yeah, I need to try. Yeah. I want to try that for like a month and see what it is and see how it changes.
It'd be interesting to see how you feel. I'd like that, yeah.
Well, cool, man. I appreciate you taking the time to chat it up, man. It was really fun.
Sure.
And we'll do it again sometime soon.
Yeah, that sounds good. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.